So a woman reached out to me and she said she had started to take belly dance classes and she didn't have anything to wear and she felt uncomfortable and all these things. And she came across the site and she was so excited and she hoped that maybe one day she could buy something to wear to her class. So I wrote her back and I said, don't worry, I'll send you some things. So I put together a box for her and some little outfits because, again, I understood that you don't want to be that person that can't participate and can't move because you don't think you look cute like everybody else. So I sent her the box. And I sent it via postal service, so I knew when she got it, and I never heard anything. And so, of course, I was like, could have said thank you. But I didn't hear anything. And, you go on, and you know, things are happening, and the business is growing, and you're attending shows and stuff like that. So probably about 2 or 3 years later, I get an email out of nowhere. And this woman, she says, you probably don't remember me, but you sent me a box 2 years ago, and she said what you didn't know was that I was a newly divorced mother of an autistic child. And this story always gets me. And she said I felt ugly, and I felt unwanted and unloved. And because you sent me that box, you changed my life. So that story gets me every time, but it's just an example of when you feel really down and you feel like, what the hell am I doing? Is this making any difference? Then you get something like that and you realize, yeah, I am making a difference. So I felt a little bad about saying that she didn't say anything, but you know, it was just a beautiful story. And she said, I'm now remarried to a wonderful man and I'm living an amazing life, and I just want to thank you. The idea for ShimmySista came about as a result of me trying to find another element to add to my fitness routine. I wanted to do something different. I had tried jazzercise, I had tried a number of different things, but I wanted to do something different. So a friend of mine asked me to come to a belly dance class with her. Initially, I thought she was insane because that's not something in my mind that plus size women did. You know, belly dance, are you kidding me? I didn't want people laughing at me. I initially said, no way, I'm not doing it. But she kept trying to convince me, and she invited me to her showcase. They were having a showcase. So she invited me, and it changed my life. I looked up on the stage, and I saw women of all shapes and sizes just really appreciating their bodies and having a wonderful time. And so I said, okay, maybe I will take the class. So I did, and I fell in love with it. But then eventually it came time for us to rehab our recital, and I could not find anything to wear. I was so afraid that I was going to get laughed at. Everybody else had these cute outfits, but I had nothing. So I heard about an event that was taking place for belly dancers, and I decided to go. It was a conference. So I said, surely I'll find something there to wear. Of course I didn't. Nothing. And I saw all these women walking around who were plus size as well, who had also discovered belly dance, and they didn't have any bags in their hands. So I thought, wow, this is something here. These women have discovered it. And if you know anything about women, you know that if a woman doesn't feel comfortable about what she looks like, she's not going to go to the party, she's not going to participate in the event, she's going to stay home. So I said, all these women have discovered belly dance and none of them have a bag in their hand. So I thought, this is a good business for me to start because they too have found it and appreciated it, and I wanted them to be able to feel comfortable and explore the dance form without feeling uncomfortable. It started in about 2006, I think, when I took that first class. And it was wonderful. It was exciting, and it made you feel sexy and pretty, and you know, you found your body moving in ways you never thought you could move, and you saw things happening. So it was cool. It was very cool. The very first thing that I did was I decided to go back to the same conference that I had initially attended and didn't find anything to wear. So I was lucky enough to find a small business, woman-owned business, who also made belly dance clothing out of New York. And I talked to her, and she said, sure, I'll make you some things in plus sizes, and we can see where it goes. So she made me a whole collection of stuff. I spent all this money. I signed up to participate in the event. I set my stuff up, and I sat, and nobody came by. And by the end of the day, I was almost in tears. I was like, oh my God, I've made a huge mistake. Nobody wants what I have. Everybody's walking by. And I'm thinking, okay, she's plus size, she's curvy. Why aren't they stopping at my booth? What the heck is going on? So finally, out of desperation, I just stopped some lady. I was like, hey, I'm over here. Did you want to take a look at my stuff? And she looked at me, and she looked at the clothes. Then she looked back at me. She looked back at the clothes. She was like, oh. I said, well, I saw you walk by, and you didn't stop. And I was just wondering what was going about and why you didn't stop. And she said, well, I'll tell you. I've been coming to this conference for a number of years, and there has never been anything for me. So I wasn't even looking. I go straight to the soaps. I go straight to the jewelry. I'm never able to buy any clothes. After that, it was off to the races. And she bought stuff, she told friends, and it was on after that. The biggest challenge for becoming an entrepreneur is getting over the fear of failure. Thinking that nobody's going to like what you're doing. They're not going to like what you are offering them. Somebody's going to have something better or more interesting or more fun, and so why should I even bother? And then you have to come to the realization that no one's going to do it like you do it, right? So if you like it and you need it and you want it, the likelihood is that someone else out there likes it, needs it, and wants it as well. So sometimes you have to just plunge forward and do it and test the waters. That was my way of doing it by attending that first show. I tested the waters. The waters were a little bit icy as far as the reception, but once I kind of got into it, I became the go-to. So for several years after that, I started an online business. And for several years after that, I attended that same conference, and people would specifically come to the conference looking for me. So the word spread, and before I knew it, I was sending boxes to Australia and Canada and Hawaii and the Caribbean, and I became known as the go-to for plus-size clothing in the Bellydance community. One of the things I like to do for my vacation is to go on cruises. And over the years, I've done probably about 19 cruises. And it's always fun, it's always relaxing. But of course, as an entrepreneur, your mind is always rolling and thinking. So you'd go to the little shop on the ship, and they'd always have the ugly big girl clothes. A shirt with a big anchor on it. You know, nothing sexy, nothing fabulous. Then you get off on one of the islands, same thing. So you're lucky if you can come away with a Jammin' in Jamaica shirt or something that says Irie on it or something. But you're not going to find those cute little breezy outfits that all the other people are coming away with. So one of my dreams is to open up a boutique on one of the islands and sell cruise wear for plus sizes. Because every woman wants to come back from a fabulous vacation saying, oh, look at what I bought, and I got this on my vacation, and that kind of thing. So I want to be able to leave a legacy. I knew what it's like to grow up feeling excluded, feeling like you didn't belong, feeling that you weren't going to get picked. You know, one of the worst things in the world is for you to get picked after the girl with the wraparound braces when it's time to play soccer. So, you know, although we've come a long way in the plus size community and body acceptance and no shaming and all that, we still have a long way to go. So I think that what I want to leave is a legacy, because I want women to feel good about themselves, to experience life to the fullest, and not care whether or not they have a few extra pounds, whether or not they have a few extra chins, whatever. It's just living your life and not saying, well, when I lose 10 pounds, then I will. When I get thinner, then I will. Do it now, because tomorrow is not promised. So one of the things I want to leave behind is a legacy of women learning to really love themselves and appreciate themselves, and knowing that they have something to offer the world that nobody else but them can offer. It's hard to answer the question of what I want beyond the boutique, because so much of who I am is tied up in the boutique. So it's hard to say, I'm just going to leave this behind and do something else and do something bigger. I just really want to provide to people what they need, not just externally, but internally as well. Because it's one thing to have a cute outfit on and feel like you look good, but if you're empty on the inside, I have a poster that hangs in my store, and it's the philosophy that I live by, and it's what I try to help women understand. And the quote is, and then one day I loved myself, and everything changed. I was free. So once you really get to that place where you love yourself and you accept yourself, and you could care less what anybody else thinks, that's the place that you really want to be. So it's hard to say, what do I want beyond this? Because it may be the store today, it may be the resort where tomorrow it may, but underneath all of that is always the same message for me and always the same goal and desire. Because, as I said, I've been through knowing what it's like to be not accepted or appreciated or valued for what I bring. And so even until I draw my last breath, if I'm helping somebody and making somebody feel whole and loved and appreciated, then I feel good. I feel like I've done my job. My brand is about acceptance. My brand, I want a person to feel like they can conquer the world. I want a person to feel free. And I feel like my logo speaks to that. My logo is representative of a woman's body, but she's in motion, she's in movement. And that represents freedom to me. So I think I want people to feel that sense of freedom, that I can do and be and have and see whatever I want. And I tell the girls that work in the store all the time, I don't care what's going on outside in the world, but when someone steps through this door, I want them to feel welcome, appreciated, loved, no shaming, no, dogging anybody out, no anything that's negative. I want them to feel good for just those few moments. And it happens a lot in here. You hear stories of people's personal lives and things, but I really want them to walk away feeling that I can do this. One woman came in, what's today? Monday? Saturday. And she had been sick. And her doctor finally gave her the okay to get back out there. And she said, I wanted to come here. So she came in and shopped. I was like, okay, great. She said, this makes me feel good when I come in here. The energy here, the vibe here. And I like that. I appreciate that, because a lot of times you're moving through life and feeling like I'm just getting by. Your head is in the wrong place, your head is in the clouds, your head is in the dirt. But if you can walk in here and walk out, even if you don't even have a bag in your hand, and you walk out of here feeling uplifted, like I did something good, I felt good, I felt energy, I felt revived, then I'm all about it. Being an entrepreneur runs the gamut from being fun, exciting, interesting, to painful, hurtful, depressing. I have a good friend, and we always talk about failing forward, because you feel like you're going in a particular direction, and then you wake up and you think, okay, that didn't work out too well. But you have few choices. Either keep going or throw in the towel. But then you weigh the good side. You weigh that person who comes to your booth and just sheds a tear because you've made her feel beautiful for the first time in her life. That person who says, that person who you have to say, okay, you've bought everything that I have, but they keep coming back and they say, I don't know what it is about this space, but I just love being here. It's those times that you recall that make you keep moving forward. Because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you ask yourself, why did I do this? Where am I going? Is this going to become anything? But I realize as an entrepreneur, it has to be something about more than just money. Because if you make it about money, there'll never be enough. But if you make it about something else, something that's going to change someone's life, and somebody might say, oh, it's just a dress, or it's just a shirt. How is that going to change somebody's life? And it's something that maybe men don't understand as much, unless, of course, they're married, but because maybe then they do. But when you just talk about other women, they get it. They understand that it's external, but it's also internal. And so it allows you to carry yourself a little bit better and those types of things. So, I started this business a while ago. And back then, there was a certain way that you would market and promote yourself. It was a traditional. You put an ad in the yellow pages, you might have a mailing list, you might send out some flyers and things like that. The world has changed. And so now we have fast-paced social media and so many different ways that people receive information and how they process information. So one of the setbacks for me, or the challenges for me, is finding that right mix. I know I have a good thing here. I know the experience that people have is good. It's getting more people to know about it, getting the message out the correct way, the correct mix. I think that's one of my biggest challenges. What makes me and my business different than anybody else is me. And my philosophy and belief about how people should be treated. I think it goes beyond customer service, because anybody can give good customer service. You say thank you, you say please, you say welcome to the people that come in. But I think what makes it unique is a full-on experience. It's not just clothes in here, as I mentioned before. We also offer workshops to empower women, workshops to help women live the fullest life that they can, experience something different. We do things like belly dance, line dance, understanding about herbal teas and the benefits of different types of wellness and skincare, all of that kind of stuff. So I think what makes this experience unique and this business unique is that it is a full range of services all around a common goal. That's not something that I think about, what other people believe or what they don't believe. Because I think everyone should have the right to feel how they want to feel and believe what they want to believe. No judgments. And so I don't really give a lot of thought to what I believe that might not be what someone else believes or what's different. I just try to stay unique to my core values. I'm most excited about settling in to a rhythm. Because as an entrepreneur, my dad used to have an expression, you throw enough poop at the wall, eventually something's going to stick. And as an entrepreneur, you do a lot of that. You test the waters. Will this work? Is this idea for marketing better than that idea? And you start to just really, throw things out there. So I'm looking forward to sort of getting into a real rhythm, because I transitioned the business from completely being online and only selling dancewear to now having a broad range of products and services that meet a variety of women's needs. So as I look into the future, I'm looking to kind of getting more into a rhythm and understanding how people shop, what types of things that they want, what really resonates with them. So I'm looking forward to that as time goes on. I enjoy travel immensely. I'm from the Caribbean originally, so anytime I can be around water, that makes me be very happy. So I like to spend my time around family and friends and just experiencing other things, because I can't talk the talk unless I walk the walk. So if I'm telling women to get out there and do different things, then I got to do that too. So I've always had a sense of adventure. I've never been fearful of traveling alone, of course being safe about it. But I love to travel. I love to experience different places, different foods, different people, cultures, that kind of stuff. So that's what I like to do in my spare time. I also like to read. If I had gone to Carnival, I would have had on a big, bodacious, feather-laden getup. Just big headdress, wings, just out there. Color, I love a lot of color. I love a lot of bling, accessories. That's what my costume would have looked like. Several years ago, I was part of a technology startup. And we created a product, and our target market was the African American church. I am the daughter of a minister, and my business partner was the son of a minister. And so as people growing up in the church, we got to realize that a lot of the times churches would get in trouble for their record keeping. So you would have people that would pay their tithe, but then wouldn't get a receipt at the end and those types of things. So we created a product that addressed that need. So it was kind of like Microsoft Word that has a suite of products. You have Excel and Word processing software and stuff like that. This was a software created for the African American church to help people with their record keeping. So I traveled all around the country, and I was the marketing person. So they wrote the software and the code. I wrote the user's manual. I designed the cover. I designed the book. And we traveled all around the country going to religious conventions selling the product. My biggest accomplishment with ShimmySista is actually opening a brick and mortar. Recently, there's been a lot of brick and mortars closing down. We're coming up into our 4th year, and to be able to sustain ourselves for 4 years, I think is no small feat. Most small businesses don't make it through 5 years. So we're coming up on 4, so we're doing pretty good. And I think to be able to say that we're still around and we're still growing and customers are still discovering us and we have regular customers that come through, I think that would be consider our biggest accomplishment. You know, I've always, as an entrepreneur, you always have a lot of things to do at once. You're juggling a lot of balls. And a lot of times you have to delegate. And sometimes that's challenging as an entrepreneur because there's always not a lot of people to delegate, and there's not always a person that's going to be able to do it the way that you would do it. You have to let loose and not be so concerned about having it exactly how you would do it, but good enough, making it happen. So what might be standing in the way of my fulfilling my dreams is just the capacity to be able to do everything. And I think you have to be careful about spreading yourself too thin. And so once I'm able to get the boutique to a place where it's sort of got a nice machine going on and sort of a nice, flow, then I can divert my attention to something else, another project. I started off belly dancing. That was my hobby. You know, it allowed me to blow off some steam, discover things that I hadn't discovered about myself and my physical abilities and that kind of thing. So absolutely, you draw from that, that if you allow yourself to experience something different and go into a different direction and stretch yourself, you might really accomplish something that you never thought you could. So my hobby is belly dance, movement, travel, experiencing different things, and I bring that directly to the business. So I try to bring things to my customers to allow them to experience something new and different in a safe environment. One of the things I started to do after I belly danced for a while and took a number of different classes is I started to teach myself. And I used to do, or I still do, goddess parties, because I know some people are curious about belly dance, but they might not want to sign up for a 6-week class or an 8-week class, that kind of thing. So I would do goddess parties to allow women to experience it. And inevitably, I'd be standing in front of the room of women just before we get started, and everybody sort of preparing themselves and getting into it. And I always wanted to identify who my problem child was going to be, who my Michael Jackson was going to be, who my shy girl was going to be, so that I could address their specific needs. So 99.9% of the time, I'd be standing there sort of assessing the room, and there'd always be that one person who's saying, oh, my stomach, I had a baby, I have a pooch, this, that, the third thing. Meanwhile, I'm looking at that person saying, if I had a body like that, they would have to lock me up. But she's saying about herself, I don't want to, and I this, and I look terrible, and this and that and the third thing. So what that made me realize, and I hope I get this across to women, is that everybody else is so worried about what they look like, they're not looking at you. They're not looking at whatever you think your flaw is to laugh at you, or you think they're going to judge you. They're so busy worrying about what somebody's going to think about their butt, their thigh, their hip, whatever. So what that says to me is, get out there and live your life. Do whatever. Because maybe somebody is going to look, and I say, if they're going to look, give them something to look at. The 10-year-old version of myself would be shocked at where I am today and what I'm doing. Because despite what people think now about me, I wanted to be part of the wallpaper when I was 10 years old. I was the shyest thing going. Right. Everybody does not want to believe that. One person even said to me, I think you might be shy when you're sleeping. But when I was 10, I didn't want anybody looking at me. I was just so introverted. I didn't want to experience anything. I didn't want anybody noticing me. It was all of that kind of stuff. And so I think the 10-year-old me would be very proud to say, man, girl, you did that thing. You go ahead. When I was growing up, I always wanted an easy bake oven. Every little girl had an easy bake oven. But my father was a professor. And so Christmas for us always meant something educational. A book, an erector set, some kind of, tool or something. And while I understood what my father was trying to do, I just really wanted an easy bake oven. So not that many years ago, my father passed away, and my brother and I were having a conversation, just reminiscing about times when we were younger. And we reflected on Christmas. And I said to him, man, I know what Dad was trying to do, but all I ever wanted was an easy bake oven. He was like, really? I said, yes. Every girl has an easy bake oven, and I wanted one, and I never got one. That hurt my feelings. So we laughed and talked about some other things. And then the following year, he came down with his family to visit for Christmas with this big old box. And in that box was an Easy Bake Oven. Oh my God. I laughed, I cried, I giggled. His wife must have thought I was insane. She was giving me the side eye like, okay, it's just an oven, girl. Okay. But I just thought it was the best thing in the world. And so I just squealed, and just the little girl in me just responded. So it wasn't long after that that my friend invited me to take that Bellydance class. And the grown-up in me was like, oh no, I'm not going to humiliate myself. I'm not going to put all this into some hip scarf and all of that. But the little girl in me was like, yeah, we're going to shake our booties. We're going to have a good old time. Yes, let's belly dance. Yay. So what that taught me was that if you feed your inner child, you can release the fear and you can experience things that you never thought you could. So sometimes it's important to listen to that little girl. And I'm glad that I did. And so the Easy Bake Oven is in my shop as a reminder to myself and anybody who comes in that it's all about feeding your inner child and really experiencing something different.